Hello, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. I love this. I love being able to answer your questions in real time. It's different when I post something and then you comment, because then I answer maybe an hour later. It's not like a conversation. And that's what we're going to have right now. And I love that. So remember that you can ask any question, you can post it in the comment box, and I will hopefully answer it. So one of the things that I want to talk about as we open is one of the things that people don't talk about when you heal, and that is that your mindset is everything. And so if you're trying to reverse type 2 diabetes, if you're trying to heal PCOS, if you have insulin resistance, there is a resistance that often comes up when you heal something or are healing something, and that's this health anxiety thing that comes up. And it happens to me still, even though I'm years out now from having healed my skin and healed my eczema and resolved my blood sugar issues. I still have some health anxiety, and that just happens. I was talking about it with one of my clients recently, and it kind of inspired me to think yeah, that is a very real thing. And it's when you're healing, it's the idea that nothing is working for you. Even though this works for people, it doesn't work for you. This will not work for you. That's the health anxiety that happens when you are in the healing process, when you're in it, you're in the trenches, often feeling is this for me? Is this going to work for me? Am I broken? Am I the one person that it's not going to work for? And also, if you're just joining, you can ask your question in the comments and I will hopefully answer it. And when you're on the other side of your healing journey, which is where I find myself, it can feel like you think that it's something wrong with you all the time. Now, my health anxiety has definitely waned over the years. When I first healed everything, I was kind of waiting for the ball to drop in terms of thinking that I was going to get sick again. This was a fluke, or just the eye of the storm, and I was going to be back in the storm in no time. And it's it's thinking that every itch is eczema coming back. Thinking that if I wake up in the middle of the night one night, my blood sugar is wrecked, I'm done. And so I think it's really important that we have these conversations as we are working through our healing journey, as we are healed, finding people who have similar type experiences, because then you can sort of parse these things out and actually talk about it with people that understand. If you don't have people or a community, joining a program, getting a therapist, and when I say joining a program, I mean something like the Ultimate Glow Up that comes with a support community, that comes with a group of people that are on the same path as you and will likely, stay on the same path, so you guys can share those things, because health anxiety is real, and when you don't have anyone to talk to about it, it can feel really isolating. It's anxiety. It's like any other mental health thing that has to be worked on. What I find beautiful about some of healing and healing something and doing it naturally on the back of your own work and your own belief is that you can then utilize those same skills that helped you heal to help you heal your mindset as well. Because often when we go from having PCOS to not having PCOS, or having eczema to not having eczema, we have to change who we think we are in our head as well. You once identified as someone who was sick, you have to identify as someone who is healing. If you have blood sugar problems, instead of always thinking oh, my sugars, reinforce the fact that I'm doing everything. And if you are doing everything, of course, I'm doing everything to heal my blood sugar. I'm doing all the things, and hard work is rewarded. Smart work is rewarded. And sort of leaning on the work that you do to find the belief and to resolve the anxiety. I find that really helps me when I think, oh my God, I have a headache, there's something going on, or my shoulder hurts, so I woke up in the middle of the night and I had to pee. I have to then, remind myself when I start to spiral and think oh my God, am I backsliding? What am I doing wrong? To thinking that I'm also just human. In any life, you're going to have moments that are fallible, even when you're doing everything right. Oops. Someone said something. Someone said, honestly, also suffer from this PCOS and dealing with diabetes. The thing about PCOS is that if you have PCOS, you likely have a blood sugar thing going on. And when you are working to resolve PCOS, you don't fix the PCOS symptoms, you fix the blood sugar, and that resolves the symptoms. You got to get to the root cause. And when you fix your blood sugar, when you have PCOS and diabetes, what happens is they both resolve themselves because they're interconnected. Fixing those two things is actually just like one approach, and that is generally your blood sugar. Obviously, if you had PCOS for a long time, if it's post-pill PCOS, so it developed after you got off the pill, then there's also some like mineral rebalancing that needs to happen. There's some gut and liver work that has to go on too. But as you work to resolve your blood sugar, you take so much stress and pressure off the body so that it's able to do the deep work of like gut health and liver health. I always say to every single one of my clients, whether it's in a program or whether it's one-on-one, that the work that we're going to do on your blood sugar is going to give your body and you the bandwidth to deal with the gut stuff and the liver stuff, because that takes time, one, and it also takes a little bit more dedication than, some other things. And that's also, what you have to consider when you decide to go the natural way. In healing naturally on the back of, again, your body being able to heal itself, is that you have to know that this is not a quick fix. This is going to take time. It's not something that is going to heal itself like by next month. That being very loudly said, you can start to feel better in your body and how you experience your life day to day very quickly. But that's different. And I think that's where people conflate the two, is they think when someone says, I feel better, it's like, well, you didn't heal in 2 weeks. No, you didn't heal in 2 weeks, but you're eating all this fiber, you're eating probiotics, you're sleeping better. So of course you feel better. Are you healed? No, but are you on the path? Yes. Okay. I saw a lot of questions come in as I was like on that rant. Hold on a second. What do I feel about people who say skip breakfast? So I actually feel nothing about those people who say skip breakfast. It's just not for me. And I speak to and teach people who want a different way. Someone who wants to do intermittent fasting and wants to do it really well is not going to resonate with my content, with my coaching, with my programs, none of it, because that's not what I teach. But someone who has tried intermittent fasting, i.e. skipping breakfast, and has not found success, found it painful, found it made them worse, would gravitate more to my content. So I don't say anything to those people because I'm in my own lane. I'm a forever delusional girl. I'm not paying attention to what anyone else is doing because I'm just so focused on me. Okay. What medicine is good for type 2 diabetes? Well, metformin is often prescribed for diabetes. Insulin is often prescribed as well. Actually, let me rephrase that. Metformin is often prescribed for people who have blood sugar issues and there's like PCOS or something. And also for like diabetes type 2, but also insulin. Just kind of depends on where you are. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a pharmacist. So I'm not the person that is going to answer that question like thoroughly for you. Someone says, I have PCOS and I'm trying to prevent diabetes. My mom died from complications and I'm scared. My grandpa died from complications of diabetes too. It's terrible because I feel like, in hindsight, I was young when it happened. The system failed him because he wasn't told anything of the things that I know to be effective. But I mean, that's another thing. But one thing I would say is don't be scared. Feel empowered. Feel empowered by the fact that you have to like break that generational curse. If it happens to you, then it truly is a generational thing. And so it ends with you. Just make that decision that you are the last generation that is going to have diabetes in your family, because you are going to model a new and different way. You have absolutely all the tools that are required. If you don't have like the finances, again, to buy the blood sugar workshop or to join the Ultimate Glow Up, there's so many things that you can do right now that are going to help your blood sugar tremendously. One of them that's absolutely free is going for a walk after you eat. 10 minutes, do stairs. If you feel like working out after you eat something carby, that's a perfect way to do it. Apple cider vinegar, also very affordable. You drink that before your meals. If you do those two things with consistency, so meal over meal, day over day, like over like a month, 2 months, you will absolutely notice a difference in your blood sugar. There's no way that you wouldn't. If you are consistent and you are also being sure to try to now incorporate more of a whole food perspective, that's going to help even more because you got to stack the habits. But one thing that I'll say is it's a lifestyle. You cannot go back once you feel like, oh, my PCOS is under control, my diabetes, my A1C is down, like I'm good. I'm just going to go back to living my life. It will return. The problems will return because you've shown that your body is prone to it as well because you have it. So now your body is like tuned into that like radio station. So if you go there, you're going to like get it again. So you have to be prepared to change your life. And it's like a great change because you're going to feel better. But don't be scared, be empowered because you absolutely can do it. Okay, sorry, gotta scroll back up. Someone said I didn't know which to heal first, either my PCOS or my diabetes, because both are not in balance. If you work on your blood sugar, which is, again, something that will have a benefit to both, that is the best place to start. Because it's only, again, having to think about one thing and, make one lifestyle modification, but you're going to affect both of those situations, which I think is great. What type of work is involved with working on your blood sugar? So the first thing that I would say is understanding like what your lifestyle is like. So you have to be very honest with yourself, like do an audit. What is your like sweet meal? Are you, hungry in between meals a lot? Like do you crave a lot of coffee? Do you crave a lot of sweets like mid-morning or mid-afternoon? Do you sleep through the night? If you don't sleep through the night and you're waking up every night to pee, that would be an indication that maybe your blood sugar in the night needs some consideration. So you would have to do something about that. So the first thing involved in the work is understanding what work needs to be done, understanding your lifestyle. If it's within your finances or you have a diagnosis of diabetes, I believe that getting a, what do you call this? Sorry. Escaping me, continuous glucose monitor, again, will help you get the intel that you truly need to see what your life is doing, because that's when you're going to actually get the best intel about what to do next. It's very individual, but I mean some universal truths. Again, like I said to the person before, if you can include more movement into your life, especially after your meals, you'll notice your blood sugar after meals will improve significantly. Movement is great. Love it. If you can do weights, even better, because load-bearing exercise, your muscles burn a lot of glucose in the body, and they continue to do it when you're done with weight training for like, an hour or so after. So you're getting the benefit much longer than you even had to work for it. Whereas with cardio, that's one of those things that like when you stop doing it, no more glucose use. So if you can weight train, that's great. And again, apple cider vinegar before meals, one of like the best hacks. And I say those two always. I'm like a broken record repeating those two because those are the two most affordable, most approachable, easy to incorporate things in your life. Like if you're not a good cook, for me to say like you need to start eating whole balanced meals, which I absolutely do say and do very much recommend, it might be one of those things where you're like, well, I don't even know how to cook. So like what? But you know how to hopefully walk or move, and you are able to get your paws on some apple cider vinegar. So that is like where you start the work, is sort of like understanding what your life is like. How can I balance my menstrual cycle? Well, that comes down to a lot of things. Liver health is also very important for just your period, how you experience pain on your period, the heaviness of your flow. If your body is just like having a healthy period, your liver is so involved in that, and your gut is involved in that because we have microbiota, so like bacteria in our gut. We also have them in like our vaginal canal. Like the whole thing relies on like good, healthy microbiome, not just your stomach, but like your whole body. So working on gut health, working on liver health is really going to help with your menstrual cycle. Again, blood sugar. I mean, I talk about blood sugar because I think it's like it fixes so many things or helps remediate a lot of stuff. But blood sugar as well. Working on your blood sugar is going to help so much. And then the thing about period is that so if you get really painful periods, you're want to take Tylenol and, Advil or whatever, or something even stronger than that. And I get it because it's painful. But the thing about it is that taxes your liver more and therefore leads to more painful periods. It's like a terrible cycle. So there's two things that you can do. One thing is castor oil packs are fantastic. Wear them on your liver when you're not perioding. And it will help with liver health, of course. But also, if you are someone that just has to take period pain relief, making sure that you're drinking lots of lemon and water and you're releasing the strain on your liver in other ways, because liver health is just so important for a happy, healthy period. Okay. And that goes for a regular period too. But a regular period can be a lot of things. Mineral deficiencies, it could be your thyroid. That's why going and getting blood work, going and getting GI mapping, so when they test your stool, can be really beneficial, because you're going to understand exactly what's going on with you, what's going on inside your body. You get a real picture. If you had to choose between the two, I would choose getting GI mapping, so stool testing. I would also get it looked at by a naturopath or someone who is at least integrative, as opposed to just your doctor. They're going to read the levels differently. But there's a lot of reasons why your period can be irregular. So you have to become a real detective on that. Again, blood sugar and stuff will help to a degree, but that is, again, just giving your body back the energy to get to some deeper root cause. Because sometimes blood sugar is it. That's the thing. But other times it might be your gut, might be inflammation, might be all three. It was all three for me. I healed all three of those things, but it definitely was one of those, I did one and then I was like, oh, I need another one. Oh, I need to do another thing. So you got to get to the root cause. I will just shout out the Ultimate Glow Up, which starts next month. Tackles blood sugar, inflammation, gut health, everything. Also being healthy in the real world. I think some of the reason that we struggle, or people struggle, is that it seems how am I going to do this in the real world? I live a life. There's inflation. There's all of these things. So that's also one of the things that I'm really going to support you with, because I think that is where the rubber hits the road as far as making this a lifestyle, as opposed to just something you do to heal and you just going to put your all into it and then you're just going to go back to the way it was, because that's not how it works. So you can check that out in the link in my bio, but we're going to tackle all of those things, because all of those things were what was wrong with me. I was also incredibly emotionally stressed. I was mentally stressed. There was just a lot of things going on, and there were a lot of things that I had to work on. Mindset was one of the things that I really had to work on as well. And not just my mindset around healing and health, but my mindset, my self-worth, so many things. If you think that healing is just physical, you're never going to get to you're never fully going to get it, because while it's super physical in a lot of ways, there are some mental things that are required to heal and be on the other side and get on the other side feeling really good about everything. Someone says, what about taking an apple cider vinegar supplement? Look, they don't seem to have as much of a benefit. I'm just scrolling back up to your question. They don't seem to have much of a benefit, only because the liquid is what is tested the best. If it's a gel cap, maybe, that you made with apple cider vinegar in your house, and you take enough that's going to equal a tablespoon, sure, absolutely, have that. But I just do the liquid. I just make drinks and stuff with it. So, but try it. It might not work as well. I'm going to be doing, I'm getting a CGM, continuous glucose monitor, for just to test. So I'll probably test that. We'll see what happens, because I get that question a lot. So I might test that. Someone said, is missing your menstrual cycle a symptom of PCOS? It can be. It certainly can be. But that's the thing about periods. They're a really good way to detect if something's not right in the body, but you have to figure out what it could be. Again, it could be your blood sugar. It could be your blood sugar and other things. Your thyroid is very important for periods. So if your thyroid hasn't been tested, and not just TSH, you want free T3, T4, you want thyroid antibodies, you want a full panel. Often doctors will fight you on it. They will fight you so hard. They don't want to do the full panel. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. But generally, they will fight you on that. a naturopath will get the full panel. It might cost you, but the information is invaluable. So there could be a lot of reasons why you aren't getting a period, but you have to also you have to become a detective. That's the thing about your period. She's definitely a canary in a coal mine. She's saying, yo, something is amiss, but it's up to you to figure out what. Like I said, blood sugar work, working on inflammation and your gut health can bring energy back to your body and you, so that you have what it takes to sort of get to maybe some root cause. But often, not always, when you heal up your gut, your liver, you work on your blood sugar, you find that a lot of things that feel unexplained, like, I don't know what's going on, my body just doesn't feel like itself, you find that those things certainly resolve. Because, one of the things, like, I have a friend who is like an acupuncture and all that, and she talks about one of the things that unexplained infertility for years for a lot of women is just blood sugar stuff. Like, they're having so many blood sugar spikes and dips that the pregnancy, in early days of the pregnancy, that it makes it not viable. Fixing their blood sugar, then they're pregnant. So there's a lot of unexplained things that come down to your gut health. The inflammation in your body, your inflammatory markers, your blood sugar. Like, there's so many things that come down to that. So again, that was like a long answer to a short question, but period stuff can be a lot of things. But when it's unexplained, working on blood sugar, inflammation, gut health, all of that can be so beneficial to resolving the unexplained. Again, the Ultimate Glow Up is going to do all of that. So what's my input with bone broth? Well, you mustn't have scrolled my page because I love it. I'm a bone broth lover. I think that it is one of the most incredible liquids on the planet. It has amino acids that you can only access that way. It has collagen. It's also really soothing for the gut lining, the stomach. It's like an easy food to digest, but also incredibly healing. So it's a lot of bang for your buck. If you are trying to resolve your gut health, bone broth should be in the mix. Chicken or beef, I don't discriminate. I personally make chicken more than I make beef just because I find it a little bit more versatile as far as recipes are concerned. In the Ultimate Glow Up 12-week transformation, there's actually a full bone broth workshop and a gentle health, like a gentle body gut cleanse, because often when people are thinking about healing their gut, they're trying to attack it. You're like, I gotta fix this. And that is not the way to heal the gut. The gut is all about gentle, it's vibes. Like, if you are going into anything healing the gut with a stress, I gotta do this, your tense attitude and feeling, it's not gonna happen. It's very important that you are warm and relaxed and open when you are healing your gut. And bone broth helps you do that. Bone broth is warm. It's like a relaxing sip if you do it right. A lot of people say it tastes gross. You just haven't made it right, truthfully. And it just embodies so many of the things that help heal the gut. So I love bone broth. If you're not drinking it and you are struggling with anything, you should start drinking it. Again, in the Ultimate Glow Up, we talk about inflammation a lot as well. So we're talking about gut and inflammation. And I had inflammation as a post-COVID symptom. And bone broth helped so much in that repair because, hey man, we're not sometimes we hit health hurdles, which is what I called that. Because I was perfectly healthy before I got COVID in the summer. And then after that, I just didn't feel like myself. Went and got some blood work done because I wanted to confirm some of the feels I was having. And my body was very inflamed. And so, and also when I had eczema, obviously inflammation was the root of that. But, bone broth is amazing for inflammation too. So if you have inflammatory things, bone broth is also great. Like I said, that's why there's a full week dedicated to just gut healing, gentle gut health, and bone broth because it's so important. It's like the nucleus. It's the middle of our body. It centers us. It's everything. So when your gut is not good, you're not feeling good. Someone said being honest with yourself is hard. It's very hard to be honest with yourself. I know for myself, once I identified as healed anytime, like when I was not feeling good after COVID, there was like weeks where I'm like, it's just in my head, it's just anxiety, it's blah, blah, blah. And then I had to kind of be honest with myself. I was like, am I drinking more than I was when I was like feeling good? And especially after COVID, not a good thing. Was I like staying out too late? Was I like not, I wasn't having as many bedtime snacks because I get home and I would just go to sleep. And so I had to be honest with myself. The same habits that got me feeling good are like slipping. And then I also had COVID on top of that. Admitting that to myself was not like a great conversation with self. And also in that conversation, I think why these conversations and being honest with yourself is hard is because then you realize that the change is going to be hard. Like I stopped drinking because it's terrible if you have inflammation. It just is. But I knew that once I admitted to myself that this post-COVID inflammation and like not feeling good and some of my habits being a little bit wonk, I like having to admit to myself that I had to give up drinking, which I like love. I love cocktails and I love wine, was hard. So sometimes it's like the realness with yourself is hard, but that's hard because you know the solution. It might be even harder. So that's just like life. Okay, just scrolling. How much apple cider before meals? So it's 1 tablespoon in 8 ounces of water for blood sugar. But if you are taking apple cider vinegar for gut health, this is where the capsules and the gummies actually can be beneficial because they get to your gut. But if it's for blood sugar, 1 tablespoon in 8 ounces of water. Also, if you're going to do any of these gummies or chews that have apple cider vinegar, beware of the sugar. If there's a lot of sugar in them, or a lot of gelatin or a lot of fillers, like not gelatin's cool, but a lot of like fillers and things, chemicals, sucralose, like fake sweet, if it has 0 sugar, then you also want to be wary of that unless you know the inner workings, because you're doing something that you think is good, but it's actually not good. So just beware of those things. A lot of those have like really powerful marketing behind them, but not a lot of like effectiveness. Okay, I'm just scrolling to make sure I don't miss any questions. They really need to make it easier to like ask questions in these things. I'll say that. Do I drink to break my fast? I wake up in the morning and like guzzle water, but I eat within an hour of waking. I don't do any level of fasting. I say intermittent feast just because I think that's funny. But I don't do any fasting whatsoever. I eat when my body is hungry, but I set my body up for success so that it's not hungry because I'm not giving it enough. My meals are full and plentiful. If they're not, they're balanced still. If I know it's going to be carby, I have like apple cider vinegar before, but I eat within an hour of waking. I usually have bone broth first thing when I get up. Sometimes it's in the form of like a soup that I made, so I'll just have that. Or sometimes I just warm it up, add some seasonings, and then like just sip it. Depends on the day. And then I'll have like breakfast, and then I have coffee. Coffee's always the last thing I have in the morning. And that's kind of the vibe, but I don't fast at all. I don't recommend it. But again, if you want to fast, I support you. But I'm not the person to support you in that just because, like, I hate it. It did not work for me, so I have a hate on for it. But that's, like, my own thing to deal with. And remember, if you have any questions, you can just ask in the comment box. I'm just scrolling again to make sure. I think I answered that. Do I drink bone broth for breakfast? Yes. I also drink it mid-afternoon. So, like, if you have a sweet craving mid-afternoon or coffee craving mid-afternoon, that's generally, unless you were, like, up all night with, like, a baby or something, like, yes, your energy is flagging for sure. But if you are always, like, craving a coffee right after lunch or, like, 3 p.m. or craving sweets at 3 p.m., that's a good opportunity to throw in some bone broth. Also, you want to assess what's going on with your lunch to determine why it is causing you to have cravings. Because, the cravings, if you have cravings in between meals, the meal before that craving is what you need to, like, assess. Because that's the thing that is causing you to have those cravings. So look at lunch if you're having, like, 3 p.m. crashes. But having something like bone broth that has protein and fat is going to satisfy your blood sugar so you no longer feel like you need that sweet. But I also recognize as someone who loves some things that taste sweet, like I love peanut butter cups. Like Reese's, any kind. Honestly, if it's filled with nut butter and covered in chocolate, I love it. But sometimes I crave that because I crave the flavor, and I honor that. I'll have the thing, of course, with blood sugar in mind. So I understand that they're snacking from that perspective, but I'm just talking about if you're like crashing and you're like, oh my God, I need something sweet, have bone broth in that place. Bone broth is great for that. Okay, scrolling. Sorry. I'm new to your page. And thank you for all the helpful tips. You're welcome. What time do I eat breakfast and dinner? Well, I wake up really early. I'm like an early bird. I really am. Like, I open my eyes at like 6. But I also close my eyes at like 10:30, 11. Like, unless I have to stay up for like a party or something. Like, if I have a reason to stay up, I'm happy to stay up. But I am like an early bird, early riser, early to bed. Otherwise, I think it's years of DJing and like literally staying up like overnight, like just never going to sleep. Now I value it so much because it just like feels so good. But I digress. I usually eat breakfast, like I have bone broth around 6:37. If I open my eyes at 6 and I lie there in the warmth of my bed, and then I'll have something around 6:37, and then I have like breakfast coffee within that 7 to 8:30 time frame. Kind of just depends on like my pace. And then dinner, it depends because again, I get up so early that I usually have like a pre-dinner snack that's like kind of substantial around 3:30 or 4 because I would want my dinner at that time because I also eat lunch early because I wake up so early. So I need something around that like 3 p.m. mark that like gets me to dinner. And then I'll have dinner around like 7:30. That's the sketch. But it just depends. It kind of depends on what's going on. Again, I eat when I'm hungry. So that kind of like creates the timing. Like if I eat a substantial like breakfast thing, I'm probably not hungry again till like 11:30. So if I eat at 11 or 11:30 and I eat something substantial, I'm probably not hungry again till like 3:34. So when I eat that like pre-dinner snack, I'm getting like a couple of hours out of that, maybe 2.5 hours. Like by the time I eat around like 6:37, like I'm hungry. So that's the sketch. But again, it's flex. 80% of the time, and I also say like what you see on my page as far as what I do and like to stay healthy is 80% of the time. The 20% of the time you guys don't see because I'm like out living my life. My phone's not in my hand, but that's when I'm doing whatever I want. So, it's a balance. Which bone broth do I recommend? Well, I make my own, so I recommend homemade for a couple of reasons. Salt content. Like some of the ones out there are very salty. And that will just cause another problem. You don't want that. And you have to like hydrate a lot when you drink those. Also flavor. You can add more flavor. You can make it your own. You can also save money. Like some bone broth, like I live in Toronto where, everything is like inflated more so than normal. And getting like a cup of bone broth like this big is like $6. But you can make bone broth for like less than that, like a vat of it. So I recommend making it at home, but I mean, people are really fond of the Kettle and Fire brand. I've never had it. I've never honestly had a bone broth that I didn't make. I think I'm maybe like before, but it's been so long. I couldn't give a recommendation as to one. But if you can get one that's like made homemade, maybe in the deli section of your grocery store, you go to Whole Foods or something, like someone made it recently, that's probably the best than say like a powder. Powders are good. I just feel like homemade and fresh is always better. But I would say that. I'm a chef, so there you have it. What are the most things that cause hormonal imbalance? There's a lot of things. So your environmental toxins, so the things you put on your body. We always are so consumed with what goes in our mouths, in our bodies. But we don't pay enough mind to what goes on our bodies. Like, thank God we have a liver because the liver protects us from so many things. But when you put something on your skin or you breathe it in, there's no liver in every single pore of your body. So when you use very heavily perfumed creams, when you use perfume, when you use cleaning products that are like super toxic, like when you clean your bathroom and you don't open a window and like ventilate, when you, wear like just you like have Febreze in your house, like all of that is going to throw your hormones way off balance because it creates fake estrogen in your system. So you have excess estrogen, problemas. It also is bad for your liver, which again causes hormonal imbalance. The liver is so important for hormones. Again, problemas. So you want to think about what you do externally as well in terms of hormonal imbalance. Also, your blood sugar matters so much for hormones. Why? Because when your blood sugar goes into that pattern, you spin off cortisol. Once cortisol is in the mix and that stress hormone and all of that, it spirals down to your sex hormones, which then causes hormonal imbalance. So balancing your blood sugar, making sure there's no swings after your meals, there's no swings in the middle of the night is going to be really important for your hormones. Very important. Again, all of this in the Ultimate Glow Up, 12 weeks to new you. Not that you need to be a new you, but like a healthier version of you. Because, I mean, why not be healthier? If you're not feeling good, the Ultimate Workshop is going to help you feel good. Okay. How to avoid blood sugar spikes in the morning. Like what time of the morning? So if you wake up and your fasting glucose is all over the map, you need to think about maybe having like a snack not in the middle of the night, a snack before bed that will hold your blood sugar in the middle of the night so you wake up with like good glucose. And you also sleep through the night, also great for your blood sugar balance. But also you want to make sure you have a savory breakfast. If you're having sweet breakfast, so cereal, juice, cinnamon bun, muffin, coffee on an empty stomach, super sweet latte. Like if that's how your day starts as far as food is concerned, you gotta revamp the whole thing. It's a page 1 rewrite because that is going to set you on a path of like bad blood sugar all day. The morning sets the tone for your blood sugar. So if you have balanced blood sugar from like a really solid breakfast, you will make better decisions at lunch. You won't have cravings in between breakfast and lunch. You'll make better decisions at lunch. You won't have cravings in between lunch and dinner. You know, it's like kind of like one of those things. It's like a trickle down effect. So looking at what you're having for breakfast is very important. Looking at your coffee habits. If you drink coffee first thing on an empty stomach and you are noticing your blood sugar is all over, you need to resolve that. You need to start having coffee after you have food. But that food also needs to be balanced too. Eggs, avocado, sourdough toast with butter, bone broth, you know, stuff like that. That's where you're really gonna like get like bang for your buck because spiking in the morning means that all day your blood sugar is just gonna be operating on the back foot and just trying to like catch up. And you don't want that. Okay, I'm just scrolling. I think I saw a question. Turmeric. What do I think about turmeric? I love turmeric. It's very anti-inflammatory. I take turmeric every single day. I put it in recipes. I put it in elixirs. Like, I love turmeric. I think it's fantastic. If you are not having actual turmeric, like you're taking like curcuma, which is like the, you know, active ingredient, you need to pair that with pepper. So you need to take a supplement that has curcumin and pepper in it in order for you to access those benefits. But if you're taking just turmeric powder, you don't need the pepper. I mean, there's going to be people that will come at me when they watch this replay, but I promise you, that's facts. Okay. If there's no other questions, we're going to wrap this baby up for the day. But also, like I wanted to say, I just feel that when it comes to blood sugar, PCOS, all of that, there's so many ways to start. I think it's important that you just start, you know, whether it's getting the blood sugar workshop, maybe you start heavier than that and you join the Ultimate Glow Up. Maybe you just go out and buy apple cider vinegar and start drinking that before all of your meals. Like, you have to start somewhere. Pick a lane and stick to it, because that lane will lead to the next lane, and that step will lead to the next step. That's one thing that I really learned in my journey, is that you got to take the first step and the path will reveal itself to you, but you just have to keep going. And that's another thing that we can sometimes get in our head about. You think like, this isn't working, like I'm doing everything, it isn't working. There's always a tipping point when it comes to anything, success in a business, wellness, anything. You're like doing everything, weight loss, and then all of a sudden, you feel better. It's like you're doing everything, you're feeling nothing, and then just one day you're like, oh my God, do I feel good? It's like when you're on a weight loss journey, you're going to the gym, you're lifting, you're eating like high protein diet, you're watching your macros if that's what you're doing. And then one day you look in the mirror and you're like, holy shit, I look good. And that is really important to keep in your head. That's how you keep going, is you reinforce the fact that I am doing everything right. And not right or wrong, but I'm doing everything I need to be doing to support myself to my goal. And hard work and smart work is rewarded. If you keep saying that to yourself as you're doing the work, you start to lean more into just doing the work as a lifestyle, as a thing that you're doing. And then when the benefits start hitting, that's when you're like, oh my God, I'm untouchable. It's beautiful. Someone said, do I know anything else other than turmeric that's good for inflammation? Inflammation is like such a multi-pronged approach. If you work on your blood sugar, you are helping your inflammation indirectly, but also directly, because consistent blood sugar spikes and dips cause inflammation in the body, because it causes like a cortisol response, which then spirals inflammation. So working on your blood sugar will have that indirect benefit. Also gut and liver, just like across the board. If your liver is healthy, your body is in pretty good order, because that means that your liver is effectively moving things out, glucose, toxins, things in our food that need to go out through our liver. It's working beautifully. Then you probably feel really good. If it's when that starts to get clogged up, it's when your gut is not working prime, that you start to notice other things happen. Once inflammation is in the body, the order becomes a little bit taller, because inflammation is the root of every single disease in this world. Once inflammation is in the mix, that's when you got to get serious, because the other side of inflammation, as opposed getting through the healing side of inflammation, you come out, you feel good, you have lessons, and you're like, I'm never going back. But the other side of inflammation is extreme disease. It just is. We know that now. And so when inflammation is in the mix, that's when you got to get real serious. And that's why I quit drinking. I was like, I got to get serious, because and my naturopath literally said, I don't know what's going on, but you have high inflammation. And when you hear that, it's like, oh God, I've got to do stuff. So anyways, inflammation is no joke. You really want to make sure that you have that done. Someone said my inflammation is so high, it's triggering my sugar. That'll do it. But also your sugar might be influencing your inflammation, and then that's influencing your sugar. Like they're loving life in there. They're like wreaking havoc. They're like two bad twins that are just like, we're like bad girls, because they're in there running amok. Again, check out The Ultimate Glow Up, because we're going to talk about inflammation again at length, because I think it's so important to understand not just an anti-inflammatory diet, but an anti-inflammatory life. Like, again, I say it across the board, it's a lifestyle. But living an anti-inflammatory life is actually not as like overwhelming as you think it is, but it requires you understanding a few things. It requires you to understand yourself. In The Ultimate Glow Up, you get a food and lifestyle audit with me, and then also like a coaching call is included. Actually, 2 coaching calls are included. And that's because, like I said at the top of this live, if you weren't here, you have to understand yourself and your lifestyle before you can understand where your trigger points are. Because if you're doing just like cookie cutter things and you're still not seeing results, it means that you haven't really assessed what's what. And I think it's important. That's important support for like any program, but I don't know why I said that, but just inflammation to replay. I hate it so much. Inflammation, like after I had COVID, like I said, I had really high inflammation, and my eczema, like my legs started to itch in like a tiny eczema patch. I was like, oh my God, now I really got to get this under control. So anyways, inflammation, if you are starting to exhibit signs of that, so psoriasis, eczema, gut issues, IBS, like all of those things, we got to talk. Someone said it's so true. I'm glad you agree. Someone says I have fibromyalgia and it hurts like hell. Yes, it would. And also the anti-inflammatories that people get put on. My stepmom is on one that's like crazy for her shoulder. And no one has talked to her about just like anti-inflammation lifestyle, diet. They just put her on these really powerful anti-inflammatories that are so hard on the body, so hard on the liver. And it's like, we are creating something cyclical that requires dependency then on the drug, because the drug is fixing a problem and it's making worse. And look, I know that some people have to be on prescription medication. That's why I love pharmacy when it is well placed. I love Western medicine when it's well placed. But sometimes what happens is we default and we're just like, oh, you have that? Go on this. It'll stop the inflammation. But it's like, no, like, why is the body inflamed? Let's talk about that. And then let's do something about that. And then if the body needs more support from an anti-inflammatory place, then we bring in that. But often, if you do all the other things you can do before you get to that point, you don't get to that point. But that's, again, my vibe. That's how I think. But I also recognize too that, like, I did the eczema cream. I did it for a while because I just wanted relief. Like, and when I say I had eczema, I'm not talking about a patch here, a patch there. I had it from my neck to my ankles, front of my leg, back of my leg, front of my arm, back of my arm, chest, front of body, back, like my butt, like just cheeks. Sorry, too much information. The only place I didn't get it was like my face, my hands, and my feet. And I was so happy to get on my face because I work in television. I was like, if I get on my face, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I went on the cream and I went off the cream. And then I got withdrawals, which, if you know what topical steroid withdrawals feels like, it makes the condition 10 times worse. So when I say that I like healed something and I resolved gut health and inflammation and blood sugar, I'm not talking about like something mild. I'm talking about I like would wake up in the middle of the night to itch my whole body and like my body would bleed and I would fall asleep from like exhaustion. Like, it was bad news. And so when I come to you and talk about all these things about like inflammation and, the things that we can do, I'm talking about it from a place of like, I was like in a desperate spot. I was on the meds too. I was using the cream. But now in hindsight, I wish that I had been led and guided, like someone grabbed my hand and said, oh, when I had my first little patch of eczema, like, come with me. You just have to do a few things differently to start and it'll lead you on a different path of your whole life. I wish someone had done that and I had, not had to experience the worst of it and also the worst of the like gaslighting medically and all of that. But I mean, that's what brings me here, helping you. But I get that drugs and sometimes people need to take pharmaceuticals because you just want relief. But I just want you to know that even if you stay on some of those pharmaceuticals as you start, you are still helping your body out. You can do it in stages. Like, I'm not here to say, like, I work with clients who are on Ozempic and they want to understand their blood sugar before they go off Ozempic. Like, I have no problem with pharmaceuticals, again, when they're well placed and when they help you, like, your quality of life. But what I also can help you do is support your body while you're in that phase, because that's also important too. The body has an exceptional ability to heal and also work in partnership with pharmaceuticals. I believe that. I don't think that like everyone should go off their pills or their shots or whatever. Like, I'm not that girl. But I do believe that there are a lot of steps for a lot of conditions that we skip over that ultimately don't help us in the end, that like set us back or keep us where we are. Because if you were to ask yourself, like, and I asked myself that's why I went off the topical steroid, because I was like, am I actually better or am I just like doped up from this stuff? Like, it's masking. And when I went off the topical steroid, it got worse. I was like, oh yeah, okay, so I wasn't better. And so again, that's the challenge. If you go on off the meds, are you better? No. And in some cases you can never go off meds. I get that. But in other cases, you do the work of supporting the body and all its systems, and suddenly you're healed. It's like, I went to my doctor, funny story, and this was after I had like not seen him for like a year, and I had done so much work. The eczema was gone. I was like living my best life. And he was like, oh my God, it's a miracle. And I only could laugh because it's like, it's not a miracle, sir. It was a year of hard work and like lots of like dead ends and a lot of like tears and like searching and all of that. But nonetheless, here I am, hopefully to inspire you, because if I could heal that, I'm telling you it was bad. I believe that everyone has the power. And also my mindset was really bad too. So, both sides of the coin were bad on my front, and I worked really hard and did a lot of things that worked, a lot of things that didn't work. And that's what I share with you in the blood sugar workshop, in the ultimate glow up, in the skin class, and all the things I offer, even in my free newsletter. That's what I'm doing, is I'm just trying to help you get to the other side like I am on, because it is great. And I think everyone deserves to be on this side of things. All right, so it's almost noon. That's almost an hour. Love it. I'll be back next Wednesday, or maybe Thursday, because I'm traveling next Wednesday. Yeah, maybe next Thursday, for another live Q&A. And I post these replays. So if you're here now and you're like, oh no, it's ending, I post these replays on my YouTube channel. This one will be up by Thursday, and you can watch the whole thing from start to finish. If you want to join the Ultimate Glow Up, the link is in my bio. If you want the blood sugar workshop, the link is there too. And if you want to join my free newsletter, you'll find the link there too. Everything's there. Thanks for all your questions. See you next time.